What else is good is the fact that we have a lot to talk about on the show, including a new act. We have a new agent. We know all about KillJoy by now. If you haven't seen it, there are videos all over the place with KillJoy's kit and abilities. A lot of KillJoy's abilities, to me, feel like the next evolution of what Cypher would have created if Cypher had created new things. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially like the Cypher cage. It's like that's the alt, but just like wider and keeps people in place.
And better. And actually severely better in almost every single way than his little cage.
Which means it's going to get nerfed. Because, I mean, Cypher Cage was nerfed too, so.
True.
I don't know if it'll be nerfed. I think a lot now is a lot of theory crafting. I think I really need to see this in practice of where can it be placed, how obvious is it, how loud is it, how is the I think one of the biggest things that people bring up about Valorant is its audio direction and how sometimes it can be so hit and miss. If this ult is so this ult, in theory is super powerful, but if the audio directional sound can show you where it is, I think it'll be very, very strong in compositional wise. Like if a team can really play around it and link it up with like a Viper, I think Viper and KillJoy together would be a very strong combo. I just think right now it's a lot of theory crafting. And overall, I think she's fine. I think she seems like she'd be fun to play as, to annoy other teams, and very difficult to play against when you are down and you just can't get through her. And she's definitely an agent that's going to make people mauled. There's going to be I can already see Hiko just mauling on stream playing against KillJoy. The pro streamers are not going to have fun playing against KillJoy in the first opening days if they can't, insta-click her first, because the first few days of KillJoy, we're going to see a lot of sloppiness and a lot of people just being very upset about her ult and her turret and everything she has. She's a very tricky agent in that sense, where I think as time goes on, teams are going to learn how to either counter her or play her better in compositions. But I think for the first few days, it's going to be a lot of mauling. There's going to be... I already know you, Arda. Arda, you're going to be forfeiting after the 6th round. You're going to be like, we're 0-6. /surrender. /surrender. This is done. I'm not playing this.
Emily will be like, what the hell are you doing, Arda? Like, literally 6th round.
I need my Odin or I'm quitting. I need my Odin
after. So we won't have to worry about...
even-tempered gamer of the group, which is actually not true because I rage a lot myself. I think I think there's been a little bit of an overreaction because I feel like people always can't help but compare Valorant to other games. So like when her kit was leaked and then following that released, people are just like, I don't want to play against turrets. This is expletive bullshit. The response was very visceral and immediate, and I don't think it's going to be as bad as what people think it will be, if that makes sense.
So
I think the immediate reaction was a little bit overblown. And I understand like everyone apparently has Overwatch PTSD, but like you need to get over it. I don't think it's going to be nearly as bad as what people say. Who knows? Maybe I can be wrong. I do think there will be, to Tyler's point, a lot of molding. But sure. I also think like making all of these, having all of these reactions before she's even released is pretty ridiculous.
So let's go through KillJoy's abilities. By the way, August 4th is the date that KillJoy will be released and the new act. And so that means that KillJoy will not be obviously part of the 2 big tournaments, or at least the tournament happening this weekend. Pardon me.
Not this weekend, but the FaZe Invitational.
It might be part of the FaZe.
I corrected myself.
I've talked to a few pros who are like, it seems like she will be available for the FaZe Invitational. So
yes.
we can get a little bit of cheese. Some of the lower ranked teams could be pulling her out to cheese the top teams who aren't prepped for her. So
not the mandatory cup this weekend. So the abilities are the alarm bot. What you're seeing there is the turret right now. That is so. Just to clarify the severity and the fire rate and damage of the turret, because I think a lot of people were equating it to maybe a classic pistol or it being OP. So a burst of 3 bullets fired after 0.75 seconds. That's the speed at which the bullets come. At close range, that's 8 damage per bullet. From 20 meters, it's 6 damage per bullet, and 35 meters, it's 4 damage per bullet. So now that it colors your thoughts a little bit on how damaging the turret actually is. Sure, it's helpful, right? But it's not necessarily an extra agent on the field.
It's for intel. It's basically for you to have someone look to the right when you're on the left, right? It's not to the turret's not going to kill you, but it's for intel and to turn your direction of your opponent to another direction. If you put it on box on the left, you're on the right to crossfire while they're turned killing the turret. Like it's all intel. Right. I think the turret's fine. I think turret agents or turret champions or characters in general are just annoying to play against in general. They're not, the most crazy innovative. We're not making the wheel here. But I think if you're going to have a turret in the game, this is the least annoying way you can have it. It's not going to kill you, most likely, unless you're like Iron 1 and don't know how to aim up, or like you don't know anything about, you don't know where to check your corners and you just get killed by it without even knowing where it is. But it should be fine. Like I think it's mostly like it's a slightly more deadly tripwire.
Yeah. Emily, you're muted.
Sorry, my neighbor's kids are being super loud. I think another thing is that, which is why like I'm kind of shocked at the response to KillJoy, is that Cypher has a lot of really similar. Like I think KillJoy plus, like Tyler mentioned, KillJoy plus Viper. I think KillJoy plus Cypher is going to be absolutely nuts and super obnoxious. Cypher is by far and away like the most picked agent in the game right now. He's like mandatory. So, I think to the point of turrets, I think they're weak. They actually are looking to be weak enough that they won't kill you. And they shouldn't unless you can't shoot at a static target.
So to me, I was more surprised by the other abilities, in particular, the ult. So this is what you're seeing on screen here is the alarm bot. If you get hit by the alarm bot, you become vulnerable, and you can see there one classic target shot to the chest will end you. So that, like, it makes you, it's almost like a reverse Reyna where you become vulnerable and anyone can shoot you down very easily in that situation. Debuff. Yeah, exactly.
And in the lore, Arda.
Wait, I just want to go through just because we're seeing it on screen right now. That's the nano swarm right there. So that's a grenade, and that seems very powerful. You get caught in that, it looks like you die pretty fast. Then the lockdown ult, it takes a few seconds to activate. I believe it's 8 seconds. But if you, for example, you're on Ascent.
13 seconds.
13 seconds. So let's say you're on Ascent and you can hear people coming in. You put that behind Boathouse and you hide for cover. And if you time it right, all of a sudden, the team plants and then it activates. They're stuck there and they're slowed. So like if you time it right, you can really team wipe in situations like that. So that's going to be a really interesting one to see how the pros use, Tyler. Sorry, I just interrupted just because we saw the shots on screen, but please go ahead.
No, the lore. We got to talk about the rich, deep lore of Valorant is that apparently that Raze's Roomba, Raze stole the blueprints of KillJoy's alarm bot, which is how she made her a most annoying creation, the Roomba, the Boomba, as the Boom bots. So, so people are saying that basically KillJoy is the love child of Cypher and Raze. Not too far off, but I do think Cypher and KillJoy would be extremely strong on the defensive side, but I think this adds more to the strategy of it, right? Where you could play, you could go all defensive and play Sage, Cypher, and KillJoy, maybe in a Viper in there, but then your attack side is going to be severely leaked. So I do think it's a given pool where, yes, in theory, a Cypher and KillJoy combo, along with maybe a few more controllers, is like possibly to like break through when it comes to like a split map where it's already defensive sided. But then you have to think about the offensive capabilities where you do have to get some rounds on attack. So I do think she adds a bit more strategic depth to being where you want to take your composition, either defensive or offensive or more well-rounded all between.